ॐ त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तिसुदेशिकेन्द्रं द्वैपायनं सूत्रकृतं मुनीन्द्रं श्रीशङ्करं भाष्यकृतं यतीन्द्रं मद्देशिकञ्चापि नमामि विद्यै। ओम नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। सर्वोपप्लवरहित प्रज्ञान गणः प्रत्यगर्तो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि। ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला। अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः। पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगण्डोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं। लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिन श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। ओम कृष्णाय परमात्मने नमः। Pranams everyone. We are in second chapter, Sloka number 10. We have just finished Sloka number 9. So we'll just recap Sloka 9 and then go to Sloka 10. Basically 9 is a connecting Sloka where Sanjaya comes to the narrates what happens in the battlefield. He says, having spoken to Bhagavan Krishna as such, Arjuna, who is the destroyer of enemies, he said to Krishna, I shall not fight. And he became silent. So Sanjaya reports basically Arjuna had clearly mentioned to Bhagavan that he shall not fight, and he has sat down. Before that, Arjuna had already surrendered to Bhagavan and has asked for advice. So the next sloka, sloka number 10. Sanjaya vacha tamuvacha hrishikeshah prahasanniva bharata senayor ubayor madhye विषीदन्तमिदं वचः। तमुवाच ऋषिकेशः प्रहसन्निव भारत सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये विषीदन्तमिदं वचः। So Sanjaya again says basically Prahasanniva. Prahasanniva means smiling. Before that we'll say Tam tu vacha. Tam uvacha Hrishikeshaha. Tam uvacha Hrishikeshaha. Tam means to that. To who? To Arjuna. Hrishikesha. Hrishikesha is Bhagavan. Bhagavan Krishna. We already saw Hrishikesha in the last sloka also. Uvacha. Bhagavan Krishna spoke. So to Arjuna, Bhagavan Krishna spoke. And what does he speak? From the next verse onwards, from this chapter, next verse 2.11 onwards, Bhagavan is going to start speaking. But of course there will be intermittent, there will be some questions from Arjuna, there will be some narration from Sanjaya. We will see that. But the Gita Shastra basically starts from 2.11, next sloka onwards, until the 18th chapter, 66th verse. 18th chapter has got a total of 78 verses. So until 66 is all Gita Upadesha. 66, Bhagavan concludes the Upadesha. And Bhagavan starts his Upadesha how? He says, Prahasanniva Bharata. Prahasanniva. Prahasanniva means smiling. In Tamil we say Punmuruval. Slight, a gentle smile. A smile from the corners of the mouth. It's not a laugh, it's just a gentle smile. Iva Bharata. Hey Bharata. Bharata in basically the lineage of Bharata. And where does he say this? Where does he say this? Senayor Ubayor Madhye Vishidantam Idam Pataha. Madhye Ubayoho Senayoho. In between the two armies. The Senayor Ubayor Madhye, we should have seen it a couple of few times in chapter 1 also. In between the two armies, Bhagavan spoke the following words to Arjuna. Smilingly. And what sort of Arjuna? Vishidantam idam. Vishidantam idam means Vishidantam is grieving, one who is sorrowful. Idam Bachaha, he spoke the following words. So Bhagavan smilingly spoke the following words to Arjuna, who is in sorrow. Now why is Bhagavan smiling? There could be two reasons. Two answers to it. One answer is Arjuna is distressed. He is in extreme sorrow. But Bhagavan knows that he has a ready solution for Arjuna. This is not something that Bhagavan would have to find it difficult to answer. And therefore he could be smiling. The second reason could be that Bhagavan is happy that Arjuna has crossed the 4 steps. The 4 steps of actually understanding that he is in samsara, having the desire to come out of samsara, trying all his methods and finding it helpless, all his methods helpless, and then 4th step of actually doing a sharanagati. And therefore Bhagavan could be happy for these 2 reasons, or therefore he could be smiling. So that is sloka number 10. Now Bhagavan starts his Upadesha. Sloka number 11. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashocyan Anvashocastvam Prajna Vadamscha Bhashase Gatasu Nagatasunshcha Nanushocanti Panditaha Ashocyan Anvashocastvam Prajna Vadamscha Bhashase Gatasu Nagatasunshcha Nanushocanti Panditaha. First we will see the meaning of the sloka and then go into the details of it. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Bhagavan said, Ashocyan Anvashocastvam. Tvam. Tvam means you. Ashocyan anvashocastvam. Tvam, you. Anvashochaha. Anvashochaha means you are grieving. Basically, Arjuna is grieving, so Bhagavan is addressing, you are grieving. Anvashochastvam. On whom you are grieving, Bhagavan says, Ashocyan. Ashocyan means for those who should not be grieved for things that are not worthy enough to be grieving for. So basically Bhagavan says, you are grieving for something that is not worthy enough to be grieving for. Shocyan means Shoka Yogaha, one that is worthy enough to be grieved, something which is valuable. Shocyan. Shoka Yogyaha. Shoka means, we know, Shoka means sorrow. Yogyaha means eligible. It is eligible for sorrow. Shocyan. Shoka plus ya. And we have a arhate. Shocya. Shocyaha. Just like puj plus ya. We say one who is qualified to be worshipped. One who is eligible to be worshipped is a pujya. We say pujya Swamiji. One who is qualified, who is eligible to be worshipped. Pujya. Similarly, Shochya. Ashochya. One which is not eligible for sorrow. And how we can say, suppose, what is the example we can give here? Okay, we will come to the examples later. So here Bhagavan says, Arjuna, you are not eligible for, or you need not grieve. You are grieving for something that is not worthy enough to be grieving for. You are getting sad on something that is not worthy enough. There is no justification. That is what Bhagavan is addressing. The first statement himself. Some people, they actually get angry. And they can get angry at a slightest instance. And when you ask them why they get angry, they will say, I get, the reason is this person, that person, or that. They will give multiple reasons. Actually speaking, there cannot be a reason for anger. Anger is a weakness. So here Bhagavan says, you are getting distressed for something, or distressed on something that is not worthy to be sorrowful. And then Bhagavan says, how do you speak, Arjuna? But how do you speak? Prajna vadamscha bhashase. Bhashase prajnan vadan. Bhashase means speaking. You are speaking prajna vadan, the words of the wise people. You are speaking as though you are a wise person. Or you are speaking like a Jnani. You are pretending to be a wise person. Why Bhagavan says this? Because Arjuna in the first chapter talked about Kulakshaya, Kuladharma, Varna Sankraha. He spoke about so many things about Dharma and all those things. As if he was a wise person. So Bhagavan says, you are speaking as though you are wise. If someone says to us, you are speaking as if you are intelligent, as though you are intelligent, what does that mean? It means we are a fool. So Shankaracharya also says, Bhagavan says to basically Bhagavan says here to Arjuna that he is unmaktaha. Unmaktaha means fool. So Bhagavan says, you are grieving for those who should not be grieved for. At the same time, you are speaking the words of the wise. This is the first line. Now the second line, Bhagavan says, Gatasuna gatasuscha nanushocanti panditaha. We'll take the last part of the second line. Na anushocanti panditaha. Panditaha means wise men, wise persons. That's why we say Pandit. He's a Pandit means he's a wise person. Panditaha na anusochanti. Anusochanti we already saw, grieve. Na anusochanti, do not grieve. So wise men do not grieve. Sochanti means to grieve. Anusochanti means to grieve for something. Na anusochanti means there is nothing to grieve for. Wise men do not grieve for. And wise men do not grieve for what? Bhagavan says, Gatasun na gatasun cha. Gatasun cha agatasun cha. Gatasun. Gatasun means for the dead. Agatasun means for the living. Gatasun means dead. Agatasun means for the living. So wise men do not grieve for the dead or for the living. Gatasun, the word asu means prana. The prana shakti we say asu. Gata asu. Gatasun. Gata asu. Gata means what? Gone or lost. One who has lost prana is called as Gatasu. Gatam, we say Gatam. Sometimes we say Gatam. Gatam means gone. So Gata Asu means one who has lost prana. So Gata Asu means one who has lost prana is dead. And how do we actually identify a person, whether the person is sleeping or whether the person is dead? Only by checking the prana. We check the breath. We check the prana. So Gatasun means dead. Agatasun. Agatasun means one who has not lost his prana yet. So one who has not lost his prana. Everybody is going to leave their prana once. But here we say Agatasun means one who has not lost his prana yet, which means he is still living. So wise men do not grieve for the dead and for the living. So this is the meaning of the sloka as it is. Panditaha. Panditaha means generally a person who is an expert in something. In business terms, subject matter expert, we say. So Bhagavan, here Adi Shankara says Panda. Panda means, Panda also means Atma Jnana. Panditaha means a person having Atma Jnana. A person who has self-knowledge. What is self-knowledge? Knowledge about I. Or we can also say, when we say Atma Jnana, we can also say the knowledge about Ishvara. So, self-knowledge, Ishvara knowledge, Atma Jnana, Brahma Jnana, Tattva Jnana all mean the same. So, a Panditaha here means a person who has Atma Jnana, Brahma Jnana, Ishvara Jnana, we can Tattva Jnana, we can say that. So this is the meaning, direct meaning of the sloka. What it says? The Bhagavan said, Arjuna, you are grieving for those who should not be grieved for. At the same time, you are speaking the words of the wise. The wise people do not grieve for the dead and for the living. So this is the beginning of the Upadesha, Gita Upadesha. This is where Gita really starts. Then the question comes, what have we studied so far from the first chapter onwards until here? That will act as a foundation. We had the introduction of the Guru Shishya, we had to understand samsara, we had to understand Arjuna's shoka, the reason for his shoka and all those things. In any shastra, when we take, the first sloka need not be the beginning of the shastra. Beginning of the shastra, by beginning of the shastra, I mean the shastra's main idea has to be brought out, and the main idea need not be in the first sloka itself. In Ishavasya Upanishad, the first statement is Ishavasyam idagum sarvam, idam sarvam. It starts. That is one shastra where the first statement itself starts with the main idea. Whereas if we go to Kathopanishad, there is an introduction, there are Nachiketa comes and all those things. The shastras begin only after a few slokas. With regards to Gita, Bhagavad Gita, the Gita Shastra begins with this sloka. So this sloka is called it as Upakrama Sloka. And the Gita Shastra will end in, as I said, 18th chapter, 66th sloka, and it will end with the same thought. So the beginning and the end should be the same. So the beginning is, wise men do not grieve. Do not grieve, Arjuna. That is the first Upadesha. The 18th chapter, 66th sloka also will say, do not grieve. And generally what happens when we take the first sloka in any shastra, we will have the condensed version of the subject matter. Whatever you want to convey, the condensed version will be given in the first sloka or the first few slokas, and then it will be elaborated, then finally it will be summarized. This is in our shastras, all the shastras, this is the structure. Later on we had adapted it in our PowerPoint presentations. The same thing. The beginning of the Upadesha should have a condensed version of the subject that is being conveyed. And so now the question is, what does Gita Shastra want to convey? What does Bhagavad Gita stand for? What is the main topic of this Shastra? There are many people are saying different things, but for us, the first sloka should be the basis. The first sloka, meaning the first Upadesha sloka, should be the basis for us to arrive at what is the purpose, what is to be conveyed, what is being conveyed, and what does it stand for, what is the main topic. We need to pick it up from the first sloka. And if you see, it's the last sloka, the 18th chapter 66 sloka also will have the same meaning, it will convey the same message. So if we do a vichara on this sloka, we will get the crux of Gita. So we will do a small vichara on this sloka, which will give us the sara, the essence of this Upadesha. So we'll go through this sloka. Now we'll sort of dissect this sloka. The last two words, that's a beautiful statement. Na anusochanti panditaha. Na anusochanti panditaha. Panditaha na anusochanti. Wise men do not grieve. This is the statement. We can develop it from here. We need to be a little attentive. It says Panditaha. We already saw what is Panditaha. Adi Shankara has given Panda Jnani is basically Atma Jnani. Atma Jnanis are sent to be Panditaha. For the time being, we will take it as Jnanis. Jnanis. So we saw Na Anusochanti. Do not grieve at all. It's not that they grieve. They do not grieve only for certain things. They do not grieve at all. Wise men do not grieve at all. We will now take this like a equation, and then we will develop like that. This says Jnanis do not grieve. That is the base statement. Now from there, if we build the corollary, or if we extend it, Jnanis do not grieve. If that is the statement, then we can actually extrapolate and then say Ajnanis will grieve. If Jnanis do not grieve, then who can grieve? Ajnanis will grieve. So this is the second statement. Ajnanis will grieve. Now if we extend this vichara further, if we say Jnanis do not grieve, Ajnanis will grieve, we can kind of infer the third statement, which will say, before I say I can give you a clue. If Jnanis do not grieve, Ajnanis will grieve, then what could be the cause for grief? What could be the cause for grief? Ajnanam. Ignorance is the cause for grief. Ajnani means ignorant people. Jnani means wise people, knowledgeable people. So if we say Ajnanam is the cause for grief or sorrow. So this is the third statement. So the first statement is wise men do not grieve, Jnanis do not grieve. From there we said Ajnanis will grieve. From there we arrived at Ajnanam is the cause for grief or sorrow. Now if we extend it further, if Ajnanam is the cause for grief or sorrow, what would be needed for us to remove the sorrow? What is needed for us to remove the sorrow? Jnanam. Jnana is required to remove sorrow. So we basically arrived at wise Jnanis do not grieve, Ajnanis will grieve. Ajnanam is the cause for sorrow, and therefore Jnana is required to remove sorrow. So we had arrived at a kind of a formula from there. And we had omitted a word earlier. Remember when we said Jnani, we mentioned Atma Jnani. Panditaha are Atma Jnani. So we just add that Atma in front of the Jnana. Then we say Atma Jnana is required to remove sorrow. Atma Jnana is required to remove sorrow. This is the essence of this sloka. This is the essence of all Upanishad. This is Gita's Sara. This is the essence of Gita. What is the entire Gita's essence? Gita Shastra's main benefit is to remove shoka, remove sorrow, remove grief. And how does it do it? It says it does it by giving Atma Jnana. So Atma Jnana is the sadhana. Knowledge about self is the sadhana. What is the sadhyam? What is the goal? The goal is shoka nivritti. Shoka nivritti. Shoka nivritti means removal of sorrow. So this is what Bhagavan wants to convey in this shloka. And this is the essence. We will have to be very clear. What is Gita for? Shoka nivritti. How does it do it? How does it give shoka nivritti? By giving us Atma Jnana. This is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. We have to remember. Now, we will go do a deeper vichara. What is the next question we might get is, we have found, in our experience, we have found various reasons for our sorrow. But Bhagavan is saying here that Atma Ajnana is the cause for our sorrow. How does it add up? That is our next vichara. For us, the cause of sorrow comes from various things. Even here, for Arjuna for that matter, the cause of his sorrow is Bhishma and Drona's impending death. The death that is about to happen for Bhishma and Drona. And for us, it is not Bhishma or Drona's death. That is not the cause for our sorrow. The cause for our sorrow could be multiple things. At home, we could have issues with children, we could have sorrow with spouse or in-laws or relatives or family, friends, neighbors. There could be financial trouble, there could be health issues, there could be issues at workplace, boss could give us trouble. There are multiple reasons for which that could cause us sorrow or that is causing us sorrow. But Bhagavan says Atma Jnana is the cause for sorrow. How does it work? So we will do a vichara here. Let us see how does it come to Atma Jnana. Now, let us take an example or a general reason for which could make us unhappy. We should take a general cause that could make us that could give us grief. And the general cause that we can take is death. Death. If a person whom we know, if that person dies, then it is natural for us to become sorrow. Natural for us to be sorrowful. We feel the grief, we feel the pain, we are sad. And this is agreeable to all of us. And why we are saying is, if we take any other reason for our sorrow, we cannot be certain that everybody will agree that this could be the cause of sorrow. Suppose if I say, let us take business loss as an example for sorrow. Somebody could come and say, no, that is not a sorrowful. I don't consider that to be sorrowful. Or if I say failure in exams is one reason. There could be many students who do not bother about passing or failing in the exams. So that cannot be a general cause of sorrow. So we are taking a cause which is universally accepted. This is called as Pratama Malla Nyayam. Pratama Malla Nyayam. So we are taking one particular cause of sorrow, which can be a representative of all the sorrows in the world, and then we will try to see, we will do vichara on that. So one sorrow which can be accepted as a valid cause, death of a loved one, death of a person whom we know. Just to recollect, what are we trying to prove here? In our experience, there are multiple reasons for sorrow. But how come Bhagavan gives a totally new cause and he says Atma Jnana is the cause for our sorrow? How does that add up? How does that end up there? So for that, first of all, we have to understand there is a basic principle. The basic principle of Swabhava. There is something called intrinsic nature of everything, anything. And what we say is, what is considered to be a Swabhava, the intrinsic nature of anything, that thing will not let go of that. In other words, no object will let go of its Swabhava. Every object has got a Swabhava and it will not let go of the Swabhava. For example, we say fire. Fire, what is the Swabhava of fire? Heat. Heat is the Swabhava of fire. If we remove heat from fire, then it is not fire at all. We cannot call it as fire anymore. Heat is the Swabhava of fire. So whether I touch the fire or somebody else touches the fire, it will remain hot. Whether we do it in day or in night, in summer or in winter, it will be hot. Whether we do it in Singapore here or in US or in India, it will remain hot. So for all beings, the object Swabhava remains intact. At all times, at all places, for all people, the Swabhava remains intact. The fire always gives heat. This is the Swabhava. So, we want to see basically whether sorrow is a swabhava of death. Now we will take death. If we take death to be the reason for our sorrow, death as the reason for our sorrow, then what should happen? Right from the time we take our morning tea or coffee and read the newspaper or watch the news or browse the news, when we see so many accidents, when we see so many deaths, we should start crying. We should feel the sorrow. But then it does not happen. We still enjoy the coffee or tea in the morning and the newspaper or the news, and that does not seem to affect us at all. So what can we infer from here? Death is an incident here. It is just a news at that point of time. So, death by itself cannot cause or cannot be the cause of sorrow. Death by itself cannot be the cause of sorrow. And we can apply, instead of death, if you say for example, we read a news item about somebody getting stolen. We would not feel that. It's an incident. That's a news item. At the most, we may gossip about this. Will we get sorrow in our mind? No. We are very clear. Same thing with death. If death should be the cause for sorrow, if the intrinsic nature of death is sorrow, then what happens, or what should happen? It should create sorrow for everyone. It should create sorrow for everyone at all times and at all places. But what do? We hear about death of so many people. That does not cause us sorrow. But then there are only the death of some people affects us. At that point of time, it brings us sorrow. For Arjuna, only Bhishma's and Drona's death gave him sorrow, or is giving him sorrow now. Remember, Arjuna, others' death does not give him sorrow. He would be happy to kill Duryodhana. He would be happy to kill Dushasana, Karna. He himself would happily be the cause of their death. But only Bhishma's and Drona's death is giving him sorrow. So, what do we need to add here as a clause? We cannot say death is a cause for sorrow. We should say death of people whom I know. The death of people whom I am related to. Only those deaths cause me sorrow. So whose death is the cause of sorrow? Whomever I am linked to, whomever I am associated with. So initially, we had seen various situations that can cause sorrow, right? We gave some examples. Now, we have to alter them all. We say, those situations do not give me sorrow. Those situations wherever I am involved, wherever there is a mixture of me or mine involved in it, only those situations give me sorrow. For example, if I say, if our child fails in the exam, it gives me sorrow. But if the neighbor's child fails, it doesn't give me sorrow. So, child's failure is not the cause of sorrow. My child's failure gives me sorrow. So, there is an involvement of me and mine. And it is the same with death also. So, in whichever situation has this aham involved or mama involved, I or mine, me or mine involved, only those situations give me sorrow. And wherever this me or mine is removed, if you remove this me or mine from the situation, it becomes an incident. The death of somebody in the train accident is an incident for us. So many people dying, incident. Because there is no me or mine involved there. So that will not be a cause for my sorrow. So now again, we will go back to the other situations. What we have been telling in general, this person's behavior is the cause of my sorrow. Her attitude is my cause of my sorrow. Their actions are the cause for my sorrow. So we have various situations. But the truth is, those situations, those actions do not give us the sorrow. It is the feeling of me or mine that is mixed in those situations that is the cause for my sorrow. And it's a very subtle, and it's mixed so without our knowledge, we are not able to do a viveka of it, and that's why we feel sorrow. When there is no me or mine mixed in the situation, then it can never be the cause of our sorrow. So as I said, neighbor's house, somebody dies, incident. Something gets stolen, incident. My house, sorrow. So Bhishma and Drona's death is the cause of sorrow for Arjuna, because Arjuna has this feeling that they belong to me and I belong to them. There is a relation, me and mine, and that is the reason for Arjuna's sorrow. So there are various happenings, there are various things that are happening in our lives. Those situations by themselves cannot cause me sorrow. We just need to reflect. If those situations, if they mix with me or mine, it becomes a cause for my sorrow. Say for example, we have a house. We sold the house. Once we have sold the house, or we have a car, we sold the car, a vehicle which we sold it. The problems in the house or the problems in the vehicle will not impact us, will not give us any grief, will not give us any problems, will not agitate us. On the other hand, if we had bought a vehicle or if we had bought a house, then the problems in the house, even though I am not living in it, or even if I am not using it, the vehicle, then the problems in the vehicle, the problems in the house will impact us. So what it means is, we had not bought the house or the vehicle or the car or whatever. We had bought an object for our mamakara. For the feeling of mine, I have bought something. And the same thing, when we sell it, we don't sell the object, we sell our mamakara. Say for example, it's almost like mamakara, the transfer happens mentally. Remember, there could be examples like a lot of people could have certain investments lying somewhere. For example, a house in some place which they are not using it. It's bought as an investment. But then when they sell the house, we just sell our mamakara. It's just a paper transaction, it goes there. The moment it goes to another person's Hence, the mamakara is given away. We sell the mamakara, and that will not cause us sorrow anymore. Any issues in that house, any issues in that land is not our problem anymore. It's not a cause for our sorrow anymore. So, what do we learn from here? If we have to remove sorrow, then I don't need to change the situation. The situation can continue to be there. I just need to remove me or mine from the situation. If I remove the me or mine, the situation becomes an incident. So even an accident can turn into an incident if I remove me or mine from the situation. We haven't closed it yet. There is still some more vichara to be done. But first, we'll have to get this into our mind. How can we remove sorrow? By removing me or mine from the situation. Now the question may come, how can I remove, how it is possible to remove? All these questions we will answer them slowly. But first understand this. So Bhagavan here does not change the situation for Arjuna. He does not stop Bhishma or Drona's death. Remember, we know Kurukshetra, we know what happened in the war afterwards. Arjuna fought, Bhishma died, Drona died in the war. So what Bhagavan did? He merely removed the notion of me or mine from Arjuna's mind. That notion that I belong to them, they belong to me, and we can apply it for all things, situations, objects, relations, people, possessions. I belong to them, they belong to me. Wherever we have this relationship, in fact, wherever we have this relationship, there is a cost, there is a sorrow in the dormant form. So Bhagavan here, the situation remains, sorrow removes. Sorrow is disappearing. So this is how Bhagavad Gita gives us the solution. This shastra does not give us favorable situations. It doesn't say you study Bhagavad Gita, you will have favorable situations all around your place. You will have everybody praising you, you will have everything that you wanted in your life. You can have the healthiest of life, happiest of life. It does not promise those things. Bhagavad Gita says the situation will remain the same. In fact, even after studying, people who will criticize us will continue to criticize us. In fact, there will be more criticism also. Some people even within the house may criticize us for spending time on Bhagavad Gita when you can do something worthwhile for the house. They don't realize it. And we may not get any additional financial benefit. By reading Bhagavad Gita, I got into a great job, I got promotion, nothing of that sort. But what does it promise? It promised that the feeling that I have, that this situation is the cause for my sorrow. This person is the cause for my sorrow. That feeling will go away. So this is one level of ignorance. What is that ignorance? That ignorance that we say, we think that the situation is the cause for my sorrow. The death is the cause for my sorrow. The theft is the cause for my sorrow. The attitude of that person is the cause for my sorrow. That ignorance is removed. Bhagavan says, situations are not the cause for your sorrow. But you being in the situation is the cause for sorrow. And what do we need to do? There need not be any change in the situation. I have always been thinking, what we think when we get into a sorrow or when we see an impending sorrow, we say, I need to do this so that the sorrow is removed. Or I need to achieve that, by achieving that, my sorrow will be removed. I need to earn a little more, then my sorrow will be removed. I need to do a little more to this person, then this person, the sorrow that I have with this person will be removed. Or my relationship is empty, I need to have this person in my life to complete my life or to have a fulfilling life. By that I will be removing my sorrow. Shastra says you don't need to make any changes to external things for removing sorrow. It's not saying that you don't need to do anything at all. We'll have to understand that carefully. Shastra does not say don't do anything, sit idle, nothing like that. It says you don't need to do anything or any change to the external situations to remove your sorrow. To remove your sorrow, you just need to change internally. And by doing that, the situation will remain as situation as such, but it won't give you any sorrow. So thus in Vedanta, there is no solution to problem. Because according to Vedanta, there is no problem at all in the first place. Only if there is a problem, there has to be a solution. The problem is your ignorance. And it removes from the mind that there is a problem at all. Situation by itself does not give sorrow. When we are measuring things, for example, if the scale itself is faulty, then whatever we measure, the measurement is going to be wrong. So in the same way, even if we change the situation, every situation is going to give us sorrow. Because the issue is not with the situation, the issue is with us. And as long as we don't change, as I said, any situation we are, even if we are the richest person in the world, even if we are the most powerful person in the world, even if we are the most beautiful person in the world, even if we are the most admired person in the world, even if we are the most famous person in the world, we will have problems, we will have sorrow. We will have to change internally. So this is the one step down now we've gone. Now the next question comes, if it is me or mine which is getting involved or getting linked to this, which is the cause for my sorrow, then who is this me? Who am I? That is the next question. And in general, by nature, we have identified ourselves to be the wrong I. By nature, this is the second level of ignorance, or this is the most important, or this is the most telling ignorance. And then what is this ignorance? The ignorance of who am I. And by nature we have this ignorance. It's not that somebody are born with this knowledge. No, by nature every one of us is ignorant. We have this knowledge about so many things in this world except one thing, and that is, who am I? Whenever I say I, question is, do I really know who am I? All Jeevarasis have this ignorance. In this ignorance, when somebody says, when did this first ignorance come by? Ignorance does not have any beginning. It's always been there. But it can have an end. We can bring an end to this ignorance. Normally we say, whenever that is beginningless, we say it will also be endless. Suppose if we say a circle does not have a beginning, it does not have an end also. Anything that is beginningless also does not have an end. But for this one, ignorance has an end. And once the ignorance is ended, it won't return. We will not become ignorant again. We get the knowledge, and it is not that we will forget this knowledge. So every Jivarasi have this ignorance, the ignorance about self, and this person who faces this situation, that person has a wrong understanding of self. Who am I? And therefore, the situation is the cause for sorrow. More about that particular vichara on the ignorance about self we will do in the next class. Right now, any questions or comments? This is kind of quite a heavy topic. From now on, it will be heavy. Next few classes, next few slokas. So if you have any questions or comments, please let me know here or in the chat, and then we can pick it up in the, if we don't have time in this class, we will do it in the next class. Any questions or comments? I suggest you go through this again, this particular class, a few times for you to be able to grasp this. Every sentence is important. Only then we will be able to have a conviction. Only if we understand that. If there are no questions or comments, we will meet in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Harihi Om.